Greetings from Mission Control Houston. It's Tuesday, March 1st, 2016, and you're joining us for what will be the homecoming of 3 crew members from the International Space Station today, as well as the conclusion of the historic year in space on board the International Space Station. Here inside the room at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas, the Orbit 3 team is on console right now, and they're going to be monitoring all of the systems and walking through with the teams. They are led by Flight Director Judd Freeling there in the center, and just above him is NASA astronaut Reed Wiseman, who's going to serve as the CAPCOM, or the voice communication link, between the teams down here on the ground and the crew up in space. And they're going to be working hand in hand with their colleagues halfway across the world at the Russian Mission Control Center in Koryov, just outside of Moscow, who are going to be responsible for liaising with the Soyuz craft, which will be carrying again 3 crew members away from the International Space Station today. We have a live view inside of the station as the crew members continue to prepare their Soyuz TMA-18M spacecraft for their departure. And coming home today will be NASA astronaut Scott Kelly, Russian cosmonaut Mikhail Kornienko, and his fellow cosmonaut Sergei Volkov. For Kelly and Kornienko, this wraps up again their year in space. They have accumulated over 340 days in a row on this mission so far, landing on their 340th day, as they were on board for a year to conduct a vast array of human research science on board the International Space Station in that microgravity environment, using some of the most advanced techniques ever available to space station researchers to better understand how the human body adapts for even longer periods of time than we've ever done before on board the International Space Station. The pair, which launched in March of 2015, March 27, 2015 to be exact, are getting ready to come home today, March 1st, 340 days in space. For Scott Kelly, this was his 4th flight, a veteran of 2 space shuttle missions, including one to service the Hubble Space Telescope, and he had previously served on Expedition 25 and 26. And then Kornienko, this is his 2nd flight, previously a crew member on Expedition 23 and 24. The pair have been on board again since March of last year, serving on Expeditions 43 all the way through 46, which is in its final day today. Expedition 46 will officially end when that Soyuz craft undocks from the station just a few hours from now. But the first task to be done today will be the closing of the hatches between the Soyuz craft and the station itself. That hatch closure is expected to come at 3:40 p.m. Central Time, 4:40 p.m. Eastern Time. And again, both hatches will be closed and the Soyuz will be sealed off with the 3 crew members, Volkov, Kelly, and Kornienko inside. And that'll kick off all of the activities for this evening. Once those hatches are successfully closed, things begin to pick up rapidly. They'll do a number of leak checks on the vehicle to ensure it has a tight seal before they are ready to undock. The crew members will also get into their so-called launch and entry suits that they'll be wearing for the duration of their trip back down to Earth today. The undocking scheduled to come a little under 4 hours from now at 7:02 p.m. Central Time, 8:02 p.m. Eastern. And once the Soyuz is free from the station, we'll execute a series of burns, moving away, eventually setting it up for a deorbit and landing later this evening. That deorbit burn will come just 2.5 hours later at 9:32 p.m. Central, 10:32 p.m. Eastern, all setting up for that eventual landing in Kazakhstan at 10:25 p.m. Central Time, 11:25 p.m. Eastern Time this evening. This just a full rundown of all of those major events still to come throughout the evening. Again, as 3 crew members, Scott Kelly, Mikhail Kornienko, and Sergei Volkov, prepare to depart the International Space Station. 2 of them after spending a record 340 days. That's a record for a single duration flight on board the International Space Station. And as Scott Kelly is the departing Expedition 46 commander, the commander of the International Space Station, as is tradition, he handed over command of the orbital outpost yesterday during the traditional change of command ceremony where he handed off to his fellow NASA astronaut Tim Kopra, who's going to remain on board the station until June. Why don't we take a quick look at that, which again happened yesterday on Monday, February 29th.
Finish up here real quickly to give Tim a chance to talk a little bit, but yeah, I think it's a little bittersweet, and with that, we'll go ahead and do the change of command in the military. Different military services and countries do this a little bit differently, and obviously I recognize that this is not the military, nor is, the other space agencies, but we do kind of follow along those lines. So I'm going to turn the command of the space station over to my friend and colleague Tim here. And hey, I forgot one thing. The one thing I need to recognize is all the people that have been on board with Misha and I since we have been up here, because they are just, obviously very important and important to this mission as we are. So I just want to acknowledge Terry Virts, Samantha Cristoforetti, Anton Skaplarov, Gennady Podolka that we flew up here with, Aiden Ambitov. I'm sorry, I'm going to make sure I pronounce Aiden's name correctly, last name correctly. And then Kjell Lindgren, Kimia Yui, Oleg Kononenko, and then my three colleagues. Oh, and Andreas. I can't forget Andreas. A lot of people. So Andreas Mogensen, yeah, he was here for a short period of time too. But all those guys, including our three colleagues here, Yuri, Tim and Tim, are equally as important to this endeavor as us. So with that, I would like to relinquish command of the International Space Station to my friend and colleague here, Tim Kopra.
Thanks, Scott. It's kind of hard to believe that we've been here for 2.5 months, and it's only a small portion of Scott and Misha's time here. But I have to say it's an honor and a privilege to assume command of the International Space Station. Special thank you to Scott, and thank you for your leadership. You've been such a great role model to us in every aspect, as a crew member and as a space station commander, so we're very, very grateful, and thank you. To Scott, Misha, and Sergei, thank you for the camaraderie and the friendship. It has been a pleasure to work with you guys, and you've made our experience here so great, and we're very, very thankful for that as well. So now, Yuri, Tim, and I are going to welcome Jeff, Alexei, and Oleg soon, and we are so fortunate to have an outstanding set of teams and leadership on the ground at each one of the control centers, including our lead flight director, Dina Cantella, and our increment manager, Hubert Brissot. We're very grateful to have such a good team that's going to help us continue our work on board. And we're very excited about continuing our efforts here to produce world-class science on this orbiting laboratory. Thank you very much.
Scott and Misha, congratulations for your year of service on ISS. What you have provided for our human spaceflight endeavors has been monumental. Scott, Misha, and Yuri, we look forward to seeing you back safe on the ground and back in Houston. To Tim, and Yuri, we look forward to continuing on the mission with you in Expedition 47, and we thank all of you for your service.
And welcome back to Mission Control Houston. That, again, the change of command ceremony that happened yesterday on Monday, February 29th. Scott Kelly, the departing Expedition 46 commander, handing over command of the orbital outpost to fellow NASA astronaut Tim Kopra. Kopra is scheduled to stay on board until early June, along with European astronaut Tim Peake and Russian cosmonaut Yuri Malenchenko. He's going to remain in command of Expedition 47. That expedition will formally begin once the Soyuz craft carrying Kelly, Kornienko, and Volkov undocks later this evening. So technically we are still in the midst of Expedition 46, the final hours in fact, and Expedition 47 will begin later this evening. As you heard Kelly mention, um, the variety of crew members who have joined both him and Mikhail Kornienko on board in their year-long mission on board the International Space Station. 10 other crew members, in fact, or 11 actually, representing 6 different nations, astronauts from the United States, Russia, Japan, the United Kingdom, Kazakhstan, and Denmark, all flying on board the International Space Station while Scott Kelly and Mikhail Kornienko were on board. And just a small collection of the nations involved in operating and supporting this orbiting laboratory with science investigations from dozens of countries around the globe taking place at any given time. During the mission, the year-long mission, almost 400 experiments conducted on board the International Space Station. In conjunction with that, of course, the investigations focused on the one-year mission, in which Scott Kelly and Mikhail Kornienko were partnering for many of those. The pair engaged in all of those different experiments, giving researchers down on the ground 2 subjects instead of just 1, sharing all of the data. So a great example of international collaboration to maximize the science that we're getting out of these missions, and all of these various research projects, again, just focused on the various changes that happen to the human body when it's in microgravity for a very long period of time, looking at everything from vision changes to bone loss, exercise, all of these different things that humans must adapt and overcome if we are ever going to be able to send out crew members on even longer and even further exploration missions out into our solar system, especially on the journey to Mars. So this just the latest step in a lot of the ongoing research on board the station to continue not only NASA but the various space agencies around the world for those next giant leaps in sending humans throughout our solar system. So we are just about 13 minutes away from the planned hatch closure on board the International Space Station. That again, Scott Kelly, Mikhail Kornienko, and Sergei Volkov will say farewell to their crew members on board. For Kelly and Kornienko, saying farewell to what's been their home for the last 340 days. Will file into their Soyuz TMA-18M spacecraft, along with Sergei Volkov, who's going to be the commander of the Soyuz craft during today's undocking and descent. Volkov, who's been on board the International Space Station for 181 days since he arrived back in September, with the 2 taxi crew members, Aidin Ambatov from the Kazakh Space Agency, as well as Andreas Mogensen from ESA, the Danish astronaut. Volkov, who another veteran cosmonaut who is completing his 3rd flight on board the International Space Station, is going to command the Soyuz craft, so he will be in the center seat, responsible for overseeing the majority of systems. To his left will be Mikhail Kornienko, in a position also known as the board engineer, and then Scott Kelly will be riding in the right seat. All 3 will be in the descent module portion of the Soyuz spacecraft. That's the only portion that actually survives the re-entry through the Earth's atmosphere. It has the heat shield and the parachutes, everything responsible for ensuring the crews are able to pass through that fiery re-entry through the Earth's atmosphere safely, and then parachute slowly and comfortably back down to the ground. That center module will be exposed once the modules separate, all of that following the deorbit burn several hours from now. But the Soyuz craft, again, made up of 3 different parts. That descent module, the crew members will be seated in for the duration of the evening. But the hatch closure, still the first major task to be accomplished today, scheduled to take place just about 11 minutes from now at 3:40 p.m. Central, 4:40 p.m. Eastern Time. And throughout the day, the crew members have just been preparing for this upcoming departure. Scott Kelly has been taking a number of samples in the last few weeks as both he and Mikhail Kornienko get their final data takes while in space. Kelly taking some samples for the variety of twin studies that he's also been engaged in, as his twin brother Mark Kelly down here on planet Earth has been serving as a very neat ground control study participant as NASA researchers and scientists identified a very unique opportunity to study the brothers who are virtually identical down on the genetic level for a variety of genetic studies which are a blossoming area in human research, one with the power the potential power to do what's called personalized medicine, really tailor countermeasures to the specific astronauts. So Mark Kelly, who you can see on the right there in that picture, has been participating in a number of studies down here on planet Earth, while Scott Kelly, who obviously has been in space, has been doing the same studies. And the brothers, who will look to be reunited when Scott Kelly returns to Houston on Wednesday evening, March 2nd, still have several months of data collections ahead of them, both for this twin study and for Scott Kelly, several months for all of his various one-year mission research related. The collections actually continuing over the next 3 to 6 months for many of those, and for the twin studies actually going on for up to another year. And as we heard from Chief Scientist for the International Space Station program, Julie Robinson, just a few years ago, sometimes crew members actually giving samples up to 3 years following their landing back on Earth. So for Scott Kelly, a year in space, definitely more like 3 years with the 1 year of research on the back end and the 1 year of data collection he did before he even flew. So a lot of dedication, a lot of work to be done just on Scott himself as these astronauts persist as research subjects for many of these studies. So a lot of work still ahead, but the landing definitely looming large in everyone's mind is just a few hours from now, but again, we're continuing to stand by. We should be getting video back from the International Space Station in the next couple of minutes when we reacquire that KU band signal, that high data rate communication contact with the station, and should hopefully have video for that hatch closure. The station itself right now passing over the Indian Ocean on a northeasterly track right now. It's going to be entering into an orbital daytime soon, passing over countries of Malaysia, Indonesia, out over the South China Sea as the crew members continue to march towards that hatch closure. And again, this is a quick view inside of the Russian Mission Control Center out in Koryov, and there you'll hear them corresponding frequently with the Soyuz craft throughout the day as they are in charge of all of the operations and all of the direction of the Soyuz craft as it makes its way from the station and under the controls of Sergei Volkov makes that descent through the Earth's atmosphere. So getting that hatch closure scheduled to come about 6 minutes, 15 seconds from now at 3:40 p.m. Central, 4:40 p.m. Eastern. This just the first step in today's departure procedures. It'll set up for the undocking coming up at 7:02 p.m. Central, 8:02 p.m. Eastern. After the hatches are closed, they'll conduct a series of leak checks just to ensure all of the seals on the Soyuz hatch and on the hatch on the station side are secure, eventually getting ready for that undocking. We're going to be breaking away from our live coverage between these major events. We'll come back with undocking coverage at 6:45 p.m. Central. The undocking at 7:02. We will break away once we lose video of the Soyuz, come back online for landing coverage at 9:15. Again, that landing expected to take place tonight at 10:25 p.m. Central, 11:25 p.m. Eastern. And getting a quick look now, a live view inside of the station. This is a view down the Poisk module, also known as the Mini Research Module number 1. It's on the space-facing side of the Zvezda service module over on the Russian segment. And there you can see Scott Kelly on the right, Sergei Volkov in the middle, and Mikhail Kornienko on the left. They're getting ready to climb into their Soyuz craft and close the hatches in just a few minutes. Tim Peake there floating into view, the European astronaut. He's going to be remaining on board for Expedition 47. You can see current Commander Tim Koper there in the middle, and all the way on the left, also in an Expedition 47 shirt, is Yuri Malenchenko. And the crew members continuing to set up inside the Poisk module for Scott Kelly and Mikhail Kornienko, the two in the light blue shirts. They are again wrapping up their year-long mission on board the station, the two in space for the last 340 days, setting the record for the longest flight on board the International Space Station, breaking the previous record of 215 days. For Scott Kelly, who's on his fourth flight, he's going to end up totaling 520 days total by the time of landing. Sergei Volkov, a veteran of 3 long-duration missions now, is going to have 548 days in space. And Mikhail Kornienko, who was on his second flight, will have totaled 516 days once they land just a few hours from now. So again, continuing to set up in the Poisk module, the 3 crew members there getting ready to move into their Soyuz craft shortly and begin getting ready to close the hatches on both the Soyuz craft itself and on the International Space Station.
Принимаем. Ну, все, наверное, мы готовы уже. Сереж, подожди секунду, у нас картинка попала, сейчас разбираемся.
We are not getting any video feed, and we're trying to figure out what's going on.
Ну что, может, начнем?
Shall we begin? Time doesn't wait.
Начинайте, Сереж, начинайте.
All right, Sergey, you can proceed.
Ну все.
All right, guys, we are ready to close the transfer hatches. We wanted to say goodbye and thank you. I am bringing home today 2 wonderful crew members, Scott and Mikhail. So thank you so much to everyone for your support and for your work. Well, we've achieved a lot, especially for Scott and Mikhail. We are very grateful to this crew, to you, Misha, and to you, Scott. Also, thank you to the mission control centers in Moscow and in Houston. And good luck, guys. We'll see you soon on the ground.
And some quick words from the Soyuz commander, Sergei Volkov, who's bringing the two one-year crew members home first, and then Yuri Malenchenko there on the left, just also offering his congratulations and his thanks to the three getting ready to depart the International Space Station. Again, Scott Kelly and Mikhail Kornienko wrapping up 340 days on board the orbiting laboratory. For Sergei Volkov, 181. He's going to be commanding the Soyuz craft through tonight's activities and the descent back down to Earth. But definitely a pretty significant moment for the departing year-long crew members who have been on board the International Space Station since March 27th of last year. So obviously very big steps for them to now depart what's been their home for the last roughly 12 months and get ready to make their way back down to Earth, its gravity, their families, and life as it was over a year ago. And once the hatches get closed, we'll stand by for the official hatch closure time and a location of the station. And again, there's two hatches to close. There's one on the Soyuz craft itself and one on the station side as well inside the Poisk module. Sergei Volkov doing one final wipe down of the sealing ring around the Soyuz hatch before he closes it. And with that, Yuri Malenchenko sealing it up. The hatch is closed. The visiting vehicle officer reporting, seeing the telemetry. The hatch is closed at 3:43 p.m. Central Time, 4:43 p.m. Eastern, while the station was flying just about 252 statute miles to the north of Malaysia. So again, the hatch is now closed between the Soyuz craft and the station itself. So the Soyuz TMA-18M spacecraft with Sergei Volkov, Scott Kelly, Mikhail Kornienko now on board. The next couple of hours will be a series of leak checks as they continue to prepare for the undocking. But again, that hatch closure coming at 3:43 p.m. Central Time, 4:43 p.m. Eastern Time, while the station was flying just to the north of Malaysia. As mentioned, a good deal of the communication you will hear tonight will be coming from the Russian Mission Control Center in Koryov, just outside of Moscow, as they converse with the crew inside of the Soyuz and oversee their return to Earth this evening. And just to run down all of those significant times for you, we're going to break away shortly from our hatch closure coverage. We will resume our live coverage on NASA TV at 6:45 p.m. Central, 7:45 p.m. Eastern for our undocking coverage, at which point the Soyuz TMA-18M with the 3 crew members on board will undock from the orbiting laboratory, back away, and begin its trip back home. That undocking is scheduled to come at 7:02 p.m. Central, 8:02 p.m. Eastern. And then the Soyuz craft will begin a series of departure burns and leave the vicinity of the space station. And we'll break away again and then resume our coverage at 9:15 p.m. Central, 10:15 p.m. Eastern for our final broadcast, our landing coverage. The deorbit burn, the final burns of the Soyuz craft will take place at 9:32 p.m. Central, slowing the vehicle down and allowing it to begin passing through the upper layers of the Earth's atmosphere. All of that setting up for an eventual landing in Kazakhstan at 10:25 p.m. Central, 11:25 p.m. Eastern. So again, be sure to join us again in just a couple of hours for the undocking of the Soyuz craft, the undocking of the one-year crew, the undocking of Scott Kelly, Mikhail Kornienko, and Sergei Volkov as they get ready to return home. That landing coming just a few hours from now. So with that, the hatch is closed again, 3:43 p.m. Central, 4:43 p.m. Eastern. The first step complete in tonight's landing of the one-year crew. With that, we will go ahead and wrap up our hatch closure broadcast. Be sure to join us again shortly here on NASA TV. Now we'll go ahead and sign off. This is Mission Control Houston.